Hey, super learners. You will notice something a little different about Mrs. A today. Oh, my hair is different. Oh my goodness. Well, the only reason my hair is different is because we are starting a brand new set of stories this week about another famous and fun group of stories. Oh yeah, what color is my hair? Blonde and or yellow, kind of golden. Goldilocks and the Three Bears. So we're going to start with the most original version that I know, and then later this week we will talk about or listen to different versions or different types of the story. So this is Goldilocks and the Three Bears, and it is retold and illustrated by Jan Brett. I'm going to pause there for just a second. Notice how it's not written by Jan Brett. We know that our fairy tales and our folk tales are stories that are passed down by word of mouth over and over and over. So we really don't know who the original or first person is that wrote the story. But we know that it's a story that we love and has been told a bunch of times. So that's why it's retold by Jan Brett and illustrated. She's a really cool author and illustrator. The pictures, pay attention to the pictures. Like I said, she's a really cool illustrator. Once upon a time, there were three bears who lived together in a house of their own in a wood. One of them was a little, word alert, small wee bear, and one was a middle-sized bear, and the other was a great, huge bear. You're going to hear some sight words in here. It's like Miss A did it on purpose or something. They each had a bowl for their porridge, and porridge is kind of like oatmeal. A little bowl for the little small wee bear, a middle-sized bowl for the middle-sized bear, and a great huge bowl for the great huge bear. And they each had a chair to sit in. A little chair for the little small wee bear, a middle-sized chair for the middle-sized bear, and a great huge chair for the great huge bear. And they each had a bed to sleep in. I bet you already know what it's going to say. A little-sized bed for the little small wee bear, a middle-sized bed for the middle-sized bear, and a great huge bed for the great huge bear. One day, after they had made their porridge for breakfast and poured it into their porridge bowls, they walked out into the woods while the porridge was cooling. Just like oatmeal, sometimes it gets really hot and it needs a little bit of time to cool off. All right, so let's do a story check. Let's talk about characters first. Who's in the story so far? We have the little small wee bear. We have the middle-sized bear. Who do you think that might be? Mama bear. And then we have the great huge bear. Papa bear. Good. And where is this story happening? Tell me the setting. Right, like in the woods or in the forest. Good job. Oh, did you notice a special thing on the side here? I'm gonna come back. And while they were walking, a little girl named Goldilocks came to their house. First, she looked in at the window. Then she peeped in at the keyhole, and seeing no one was at home, she lifted the latch. The door opened before her, and in she went. Should we go into people's houses when they're not there? That's what we call breaking and entering, and you can get in big trouble for it. How pleased Goldilocks was when she saw the steaming porridge on the table. The sweet smell of the porridge with roasted nuts, honey, and berries filled the room. It was so tempting that Goldilocks set about helping herself. So not only did she help herself into somebody's house when they weren't there, now she's going to try their food. Rude. First, she tasted the porridge of the great, huge bear, but it was too hot. Then she tasted the porridge of the middle-sized bear, but it was too cold. And then she tried the porridge of the little small wee bear, and it was neither too hot nor too cold. It was just right. She liked it so much that she ate it all up. Mm. Then Goldilocks sat down in the chair of the great huge bear, but it was too hard for her. Then she sat down in the chair of the middle-sized bear, but it was too soft for her. And then she sat down in the chair of the little small wee bear, and this chair was neither too hard nor too soft, but just right. So Goldilocks seated herself in it, and there she sat until the bottom of the chair gave way, and down she came, plop, upon the floor. Oops. Uh-oh. Funny story. Something like that happened to Mrs. A not long ago. I was sitting on a bench, like a kind of like a swinging, not swinging, a rocking bench, and it had a piece of like fabric on it, but I didn't realize how old it was. And I sat down and went through the bottom, just like Goldilocks did. It was pretty funny. Don't worry, I wasn't hurt. Then Goldilocks went upstairs to the bedroom in which the three bears slept. First, she lay down upon the bed of the great huge bear, but that was too high at the head for her. Next, she lay down upon the bed of the middle-sized bear, but that was too high at the foot for her. Then she lay down upon the bed of the little small wee bear, and that was neither too high at the head nor foot, but just right. So she covered herself up comfortably and fell fast asleep. Aww. All right. Prediction time. Let's pause. Now, some of you know the story already, so let's be patient and see if we can raise our hand to tell me what you think will happen next. Oh, okay, good. Does anybody else agree with that? Also think the same thing? If you agree with that, give me a thumbs up. Okay, good. What do you think will happen next? Oh, I don't know. We're going to have to wait and see. Let's find out, see if our predictions were correct. By this time, the three bears thought their porridge would be cool enough to eat, so they returned home for breakfast. Now, Goldilocks had left the spoon of the great huge bear standing in his porridge. Somebody has been at my porridge, said the great huge bear in his great rough, gruff voice. And when the middle-sized bear looked at hers, she saw that the spoon was standing in it too. Somebody has been at my porridge, said the middle-sized bear in her middle voice. Then the little small wee bear looked at his bowl, and the spoon was in the porridge bowl, but the porridge was all gone. Somebody has been at my porridge and has eaten it all up, said the little small wee bear in his little small wee voice. What did you notice that I did there with my voice? We'll see if anybody was paying attention. Right. So every time the different sized bear was speaking, I changed my voice to kind of match their character. So for great big bear, great huge bear, I use my great huge voice. And for my middle sized bear, I use my middle voice. And then for the little small wee bear, I use my small little voice because I'm a small little baby bear. It's a fun thing about stories is when you are reading and you want to make sure your listeners can hear the different characters, you kind of change your voice a little bit. It's called expression. Got to read with the expression. Read with the expression. Don't read like a robot. You know what I'm talking about. Blazer Fresh. Upon this, the three bears, seeing that someone had entered their house and eaten up little small wee bear's breakfast, began to look about them. Now, Goldilocks had not put the hard cushion straight when she rose from the chair of the great huge bear. Chair, bear are rhyming words. Good. Somebody has been sitting in my chair, said the great huge bear in his great rough, gruff voice. Rough, gruff. Somebody has been sitting in my chair, said the middle-sized bear in her middle voice. And you know what Goldilocks had done to the third chair. First, second, third. Somebody has been sitting in my chair and has sat the bottom right out of it, said the little small wee bear in a little small wee voice. Poor baby bear. Or excuse me, little small wee bear. Then the bears thought it necessary that they should make a further search. So they went upstairs to their bedroom. So when something is necessary, it needs to be done. And a further search, they need to keep looking, keep investigating. Now Goldilocks had pulled the pillow of the great huge bear out of its place. Somebody has been lying in my bed, said the great huge bear in his great rough, gruff voice. And Goldilocks had pulled the cover of the middle-sized bear out of its place. Somebody has been lying in my bed, said the middle-sized bear in her middle voice. And then the little small wee bear came to look at his bed. Before I show you the picture, what do you know about his bed right now? Mm-hmm. Uh-oh. There was Goldilocks, sleeping peacefully, her long, shiny braids spread across the pillow. Little small wee bear just stared at her for a moment and didn't say anything. But then he cried, "Somebody has been lying in my bed, and here she is." Uh-oh. Goldilocks had heard in her sleep the great rough gruff voice of the great huge bear and the middle voice of the middle-sized bear. But it was only as if she had heard someone speaking in a dream. But when she heard the little small wee voice of the little small wee bear, it was so sharp and so shrill and so like her own that it awakened her at once. So there she is, wide awake, looking in the faces of 3 bears. I don't know about you. I would be a little bit terrified if I woke up and saw 3 bears looking at me. That's just me. Maybe somebody else might be excited. I don't know. I would be horrified and scared and terrified, and I'd be getting out as soon as possible. Which up she started, and when she saw the 3 bears on one side of the bed, she tumbled herself off the other and ran to the window. That sounds like another story kind of that we heard. Which story was it? Ooh, you do remember. Little Red Cowboy Hat. You gotcha, you betcha. Out, Goldilocks jumped and ran away as fast as she could run, not looking behind her until she was very far away. And what happened to Goldilocks afterwards, no one can tell. But the 3 bears never saw anything more of her. The end. So that was our original that we're going with for the week. That was Goldilocks and the 3 Bears, and this one was by Jan Brett. So I hope you enjoyed. I hope you also enjoyed my beautiful blonde hair. We don't have very many blonde friends in our class this year. So thought I'd try to add a little bit of blonde and have fun, a little bit of gold to your day. All right, friends, I'll see you soon. Toodaloo.